Hello, my name is Dina. I'm an ecologist and a horticulturalist who graduated from Calvin University with a degree in environmental health and conservation. Today, I'm going to be checking out the Hortech Originals native grasses. I'm currently here out at the office building that has a lot of cool stuff for us to check out. But first, we'll be talking a little bit about the various kinds of grasses that Hortech has been working with for the past couple of years, and we'll get some up-close views of the current and upcoming products. So let's stay tuned. So over the last 15 years, Hortech has been developing native grass selections for home and commercial landscapes, starting with native species and selecting and breeding for sturdier, non-flopping, often more compact habit, and of course, colors and overall beauty, all so that the natives fit better into the constructed world. The goal has been to develop plants that are so desirable that people will want them for their size, shape, and beauty alone. And then, in the process, they will choose natives and biodiversity and all the good that comes with that. So, with all of that as an intro, let's take a walk and see what's come of all these efforts. So, now that we're out here, let's check out some panicums. Did you know that the genus Panicum, or panic grass, is actually quite large, with some 500 species? They're distributed around the globe and occupy habitats that range from swamps to deserts, and spanning both tropical and temperate climates. That's a lot of range and adaptability, but Hortech focuses mostly on Panicum virgatum, or switchgrass. It's generally regarded as the most ornamental of panicums. And Panicum virgatum is native to much of North America and has displayed a surprising amount of genetic diversity, which is what you'll see in all the shapes and sizes and colors out here. So without further ado, let's zero in on the current and upcoming panicums that we can find out here in the field at Hortech. So before we officially make our first stop on our tour of Hortech Originals, I actually wanted to point out a noticeable difference between the sizes of these three rows that we can see right here. Right here is actually our first stop, Panicum Blue Rose. Right next to it is something that was planted much more recently. And then this tall row out here was planted in the first round of when we developed this area for Hortech grasses. So those oldest plants are going to be anywhere from 3 to 4 years old. The blue rose has been in the ground for about 2 to 3 years. And like I said, that shortest row has only been in the ground for a few months, though it was about a year old in the pot before it got planted. So when we have all of these plants out here at their varying stages, we're able to see what they look like once they reach maturity. And that gives us a much better idea of what they'll look like in a landscape setting. Take blue rose, for example. The sunlight is not doing us any favors here, unfortunately, but it has a gorgeous dusty rose panicle top with some sort of lighter bluish gray to the green of the stems and leaves. What we have here is Panicum Lightning Bolt, one of our taller, more upright varieties. This forms a really nice vase or V shape and is pretty distinctive from a distance. We're actually going to see this one a bit later in a landscape setting when we go back to the Hortech office building, so we'll move on for now. So again, the sunlight is sabotaging us a little bit, but we have 2 rows here of Panicum Smoky Rose. What we're missing out, what the video might capture, is this beautiful dusting of pinkish purple to the panicles all along the top of these rows here. And we'll actually see more of this growing at the Hortech office. And it's doing better over there because the soil is better and it gets better irrigation. So this next one is Panicum Tumbleweed Gold. Up close, we can see it's got that really nice tan yellow color, and from a distance, it makes the whole row stand out. It is one of our lower growers. As we can see, it's one of the shortest ones out here, even though it is well established and about 3 years old. Next up, we have Panicum Tumbleweed, which has that same growth habit to Tumbleweed Gold, but notably has more magenta, rosy red panicles developing here in late August. We've got a tractor going nearby, so I'll try to make this one quick, but this is Panicum Misty Blue. This one has been in the ground for 5 or more years at this point, so it is very well established, very, very dense for its age. It's nice and upright. It's got that nice rosy pinkish purple panicle to it, and from a distance it's got a nice like hazy blue sheen to the leaves. So this little guy is Panicum Cherry Bomb. It is easily one of the shortest, at maybe 1.5 feet, 2 feet, and it's got very distinctive fiery red tips to these leaves. You can see it from a distance. This is my personal favorite, though I may be biased. And yeah, these individual plants are both about, I want to say, 3.5 to 4 years old. They've been in the ground for a while, so this is pretty representative of how big they're gonna get. So if you're watching this video, you've probably heard of a species called little bluestem. It belongs to the genus Schizocerium, which has only one species, and this species is North American and widely distributed from Alberta to Quebec and southward from Arizona to Florida, I'd say. A staple to the tall grass prairies, little bluestem forms clumps and is quite adaptable. It can grow in acidic or alkaline soils and tolerates both moist and dry conditions. When you walk through a field of little bluestem, the plants often look identical from a distance. But when you look closer, especially after a rainstorm, you might find plants that stand taller, are more compact, or have different colors and hues. And when you collect seeds from these, you might just unlock some genetic traits that lead to some interesting new variations. That's what Hortech strives to do, and that's what we're going to go see more of right now. So first up, we don't have to travel far to find Schizocerium exclamation point. This Hortech original really catches the eye. You can see all along this whole row, and then we'll see up close here. It really catches the sunlight with some light green and yellow. Along with, if we can see, there's a hint of peach and yellow in the stem as well. Right next to exclamation point is Schizocerium Mystic Purple. This one has a similar silvery blue to the majority of the stem, but as we get closer and we let the camera adjust, the sunlight picks up a lot of darker, like wine purple red to it that you see along the leaf tips. Next up among our Hortech originals is Schizocerium Comet. This one is so named because it tends to have that denser base trailing off into nice silvery green stems, and particularly this one has even more red and peach and purple to it than other varieties. Here we have Schizocerium Purple Arrow. Of all the Hortech originals for Schizocerium, this one stands out because as we get up close, we can see it's got more of that nice wine red color to it. And we can see, compared to the other rows over here, that red stands out a little bit, although the afternoon sun is washing everything out a little bit, unfortunately. Now, compared to Purple Arrow here on our right, we see Schizocerium Blue Arrow on the left. This one stands out. If we can see, somewhat we can tell. Blue Arrow on the left is going to grow just a 1/2 foot to a foot taller than Purple Arrow, and it does not have that characteristic red purple to it. Blue Arrow over here has much more of that silvery blue green that we like to see. It's a very consistent color from the base up through the stems and up to the top. And this is Schizocerium Tall Arrow. It's pushing about 5, sometimes 6 feet. Some of these closer ones to me are coming up just to my head height. And that stem color is a lovely, lovely peachy orange with some yellow and light green to it. Oh, what I wouldn't give for some cloud cover right now. Here in the middle row is Schizocarium Band of Gold. It already stands out because it's about half a foot to a foot shorter than Blue Arrow on its right and Tall Arrow on its left. And it is totally absent of any purples or pinks or reds. It is just a nice alternating yellow-green that from a distance gives it that gold color. Now that we've looked at little blue stem, how about a peek at what's up with Hortech's big blue stem program? First, did you know big blue stem Andropogon gerardii is one of 100 species of Andropogon, which consist of annual and perennial grasses from both tropical regions to temperate North America. The species that interests Hortech is gerardii, or turkeyfoot, the typically tall species with green or blue cascading leaves. They like to bloom in the late season. They're bluish, peach-colored upright flower stems. During the late summer, the leaves typically turn coppery red. So like little blue stem, at first glance, a field full of big blue may just look like thousands of the same plant. But if you slow down, and again, especially during a rainstorm, after certain plants have taken damage, some might have better hardiness than others, you really start to see the variations, sometimes subtle, sometimes drastic, between individual plants. Those variations contained within the genes of Big Blue are exactly what Hortech is trying to unlock, maximize potential. This series of Hortech originals really is impressive, honestly. They've got short, medium, and tall even for big blue stem, with purples, greens, yellows, peach, red, everything you might see, upright and vase-shaped. So we've spent a little time out here because I just wanted to showcase the methodology that goes into kind of cultivating the Hortech originals that we have been and will continue to see in this video. What we're about to go see will give you an idea of what might be hiding in those genetic variations we were talking about with Andropogon. Here we have an Andropogon that is really living up to its name of big blue stem. This is Andropogon Peach Blush, and when the wind is not pushing them over like this is standing at about, I would say 7.5 feet tall. It's so named Peach Blush because if we get much closer and look at the stems here, it is this beautiful peach color, alternating green and peach all the way up to that characteristic turkey foot. Here we have Andropogon Hazy Blue, and you can already see the contrast between this and Peach Blush. It's a couple feet shorter. It's got more silvery blue stems leading up to this grape purple turkey foot. A couple of fun things to note before we move on to the next area. It's picking up. There are a lot of plants out here that we won't be looking at today just because they're still under evaluation. But I wanted to point out these rows of flowering plants here that you might have noticed amidst all of our rows and rows of grasses. These are banker plants, and they're just a hodgepodge of native plants that pull in pollinators and add some diversity to the area so that the overall plant health of everything we're working with, because we actually have a fair few eupatoriums over there, variations of Joe Pieweed, along with all of our grasses out here. And the more pollinators, the more insects we bring in, obviously, the healthier the plants will be, and then we are able to see them in their peak, in their prime. So this is the roof on top of the new Hortech office building, and holy moly, we could spend so much time just up here. But for now, and for the purposes of this showcase, we're looking right here. This is just about as close as I can get because we don't want to walk on plants. That is Andropogon Rainbow Pillar. If we were able to get up close, we would see a pretty nice mix of that peach, that red, that kind of wine purple, in addition to the nice classic foliage that Andropogon has. And yeah, just take a look at this. Everything up here is still only like, I would say, a year old or so. It also gets irrigation up here, and everything is planted in our live roof modules. So this is really just an ideal situation to show how these plants can thrive even up on a rooftop. So as we near the end of our tour, we're going to look at one last andropogon here. This is Carl's cousin, a shorter but still very colorful adaptation of its namesake. This Andropogon girardii has that characteristic turkey foot. This one, we're in the display garden right now, so it's only been in the ground for maybe a year, year and a half, so it will grow bigger in the future. So we're back at the office for one last kind of quick showcase of some of the species that we've been seeing over the course of this afternoon. Right here is some of that Panicum smoky rose, and everything that you see here actually has been in the ground for less than a year and was only about a year old when it was put in the ground. This is just an exceptional display of peak growing conditions, both the ideal soil and irrigation, and just how well these plants can thrive. Like this massive eupatorium here, this Monarch Madness Pink is another Hortech original, just like the Panicums and Schizocurium and Andropogon we've been looking at today. Back there is some of that Panicum Lightning Bolt. And then if we come around the corner here, there's more of that with a whole bunch of daylilies and asters. And then here we've got a combo of that smoky rose and tumbleweed to showcase the differing heights. And one last fun thing to point out is the Monarch Madness white in the back contrasted with the pink, and just how well these plants will take off when they're happy. Well, I hope you enjoyed our little walk. I hope it wasn't too much all at once. That was a non-exhaustive tour of all of the Hortech originals that we were able to look at today. Between Panicum, Andropogon, and Schizocurium, there's so much out there. There's so much to be excited about. I love how we can bring native plants into the horticulture industry to help people both appreciate them for the ways that they can fill the niches of ornamental and exotic grasses, and then also bolster the insect population, bolster biodiversity in general. I know I already use a lot of these grasses in my own home, and if it makes sense for the space you have, I will always encourage people to bring more native plants to their own home spaces. So again, this is Dina. I had a blast being a part of this project, and I hope you guys will look into more of these Hortech originals. Thank you, and goodbye.